78.6 FM Yomitan, positive vibes with Winston. Let me say that again because it's been a minute. 78.6 FM Yomitan, positive vibes with Winston. You see a little different view. We're different angle today. I'm trying something different, man. I'm always posting some cool stuff, man, from the heart. And pictures, quotes, usually some whatever's on my mind, some things that I put in my journal and I share online. So I was looking at, since I'm on my 3-year window now, new world, new season, new chapter, and I'm kind of pulling a lot of this information from the radio show to the podcast. So to make my life a lot easier, man, I had an idea, of course, if you guys were tracking over the last couple of weeks. I was like, how about we start over? Just start from scratch. And I'm a big proponent for you're never bound to be the person that you were the day before, right? I'm a huge proponent for that. I always tell people, whoever you were yesterday, today you have an opportunity to be whoever you choose to be. And if I'm speaking it, but I'm not living it, then I'm just being a hypocrite, right? So today I wanted to try something different. I said, hey, I'm gonna get away from the normal booth seat. I still have control over here. I can still move around, but I want to kind of take some of the ideas and thoughts and some of the topics that really were important to me that I'm transitioning over to the pod anyway. And when I'm sharing it with you, this will make this experience a lot easier for me and hopefully a lot more meaningful from you, because this is the way that I present it on the podcast anyway. But I want the topics to build upon themselves. So 78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winston. If you've been listening to the podcast up until this point, what you listen to from this point on is going to be completely different. So I might still have guests on, yes. I might still present topics that are meaningful to me, and hopefully that means something to you, yes. But how I do it, it's going to be a little different. Today we're talking about self-love. I skipped a chapter because last week I was going to jump into some goal setting and creating actionable plans for goals, but that can wait. Again, I want these lessons to build upon themselves. In order to do that, I have to make them make sense, right? So today we're talking about self-love, and a lot of times people forget about self-love. And I want to share something that I shared on Facebook on our business page, Positive Vibes Radio Show, last week. It was one of those random thoughts that I was having when I was really kind of understanding what I wanted to do next, or should I say planning what I wanted to do next for our show. So I'm gonna read this to you, and it really ties into what I'm about to speak about today. And it says, within the tender depths of self-love blooms the ability to embrace others with an unrivaled authenticity. And one of the points that I made in this paragraph of thoughts, I said, amidst the discussions of self-awareness and self-care, because we talk about these things all the time, self-awareness and self-care, the vital concept of self-love has regrettably been neglected and overlooked. And I caveated that with saying not anymore. Right? Before we start talking about self-love, self-care, emotional intelligence, all these things, what type of leader, when we're talking about these things at work, we have to understand who we are. And in addition to the self-awareness, we have to be in love with the individual that's looking back in the mirror at us every single day. I asked the question when I was teaching a few weeks ago, how many of you are the hero in your own story? You should have seen the faces around the crowd, 450 people in the room. You should have seen the faces, like some heads tilt and everything, because when you really ask that question, how many people look in the mirror every single day and are in love with what's looking back at them? Not just your face, your body, but just everything about you, who you are as an individual, who is in love with what's looking back at you. And self-love is the foundation of a healthy and fulfilling life. It includes valuing yourself for who you are, and not just, like I said, a person, your job, what you do, but your strengths and your weaknesses. Practicing self-love means treating yourself with kindness, compassion, and above all, respect. This allows you to set healthy boundaries and prioritize your well-being. One of the things about well-being is a lot of people say the words, but don't really truly know what whole person well-being is, right? And I'm really in love with the material from Dr. Shahar when he spoke on Tal Ben Shahar, full name, when he spoke in Happier No Matter What and Happier, and he starts spelling out what whole being is. So when we start talking about well-being, right? So everybody, hey man, you gotta have a positive mindset and you gotta take care of your well-being. 90% of the people saying they don't know what a whole person well-being is, what your whole being is, what your spiritual, your physical, your intellectual, your relational, and your emotional well-being are. And without knowing those pieces, how are you actually taking care of the self-care needs and what you need to take care of as a person and who you are as an individual every single day? This allows you to set healthy boundaries. When I say this, I mean self-love. Prioritize your well-being and pursue your goals with confidence. When you're in love with who you are, those things, they don't seem as tedious or as difficult because you know you can. And like if you've heard me speak before, I say this, and I love this saying, you know you are, you can, and you will. Now, I love that quote, and I hope you guys love that too. I am, I can, and I will. That's that look in the mirror self-care quote that I give myself every single day. You guys see it on the website because I know when I wake up, there's going to be things that's challenging today. There's going to be things that happen to me that I didn't expect. There's going to be things that catch me off guard, but I know I am, I can, and I will get through it. It's part of that self-love. One fact though, self-love is not always easy to achieve. I get it. Many struggle with the negative self-talk, self-doubt, feelings of inadequacy, and often they compare themselves. And I hate this for folks, and I feel really bad, and I wish I can fix this for a lot of people. But a lot of people compare themselves to others, and they live their lives by comparison. And another fatal flaw, and sadly, is they're always seeking validation from outside exterior forces first. So not only are you always constantly comparing yourself to other people as you're building your life, but now you're always seeking validation from those same people that you're comparing your life to. So the question is, what happens when you fall in love with your own moves, your own decisions, your own steps, when you're in love with who you are as an individual, when those decisions that you make, as we're talking about being able to be confident about your goals and the steps you take, what happens when you're in love with the individual who came up with his own or her own plan? That say, no matter what happens next, I'm going to trust myself, back myself, and believe in myself that I can accomplish whatever I set my mind to. Instead of seeking outside people to tell you that you got this. How about you start telling yourself that you got this? Folks that struggle with that negative self-talk, man, I'm going to tell you, I don't even want to get ahead of myself. There's so many ways to gently bring your thoughts back and to remind yourself that you've already survived your worst days and you are still here. You are a miracle, one of one, unique. You are here, not by chance. You hear what I'm telling you? It's not by chance that you're here. You have a purpose. Are you fulfilling that purpose? And are you living and being the best version of you? I'm not going to get ahead of myself, man. I'm going to talk about how to overcome these obstacles, and it's important to cultivate a deep understanding of what self-love means to you and how it can benefit your life. I'm going to talk about some of the key steps that can help you foster a deep connection with the incredible person. And I'm going to say that again. With that incredible person that greets you in the mirror each day. And if I said it too fast because I'm excited about today's lesson, I want you to have a deep connection with the incredible person who greets you in the mirror each day. We're going to talk about true gratitude. Not just the word. People say it all the time. Thank you. But what is true gratitude? How to embrace your imperfections. I'm going to talk to you today about setting boundaries. I'm excited to talk about prioritizing self-care. Y'all know, if you've been following me up to this point, how important self-care is to me and how much I share that with others. I'm going to talk to you about practicing self-compassion. I'm also going to touch on nurturing self-love, sustaining and growing it, and overcoming those obstacles involved with self-love. So if you're with me, 78.6 FM Yomitan, Positive Vibes of Winsome 3-year anniversary. I told him I'm not going to be the same person I was last year. That's my worst fear in the world, is to be standing in the same place that I was a year ago. Every year is supposed to be growth. Every day is supposed to be growth. Better than yesterday. And today I'm trying to do something new, and I hope you enjoy it. Let's start with gratitude, right? Gratitude is the foundation of self-love. Because when we practice it, we shift our focus from what we lack to what we have. And imagine that. I'm not worried about what I don't have in my life. I'm blessed and grateful for what I do have, the opportunities, not just the things, but the people, the places, and things that I have in my life that have shaped me, right? Think about this for yourself. Those things that have shaped you to be who you are. Are you grateful for those things? Now, some people complain about their life, but guess what? There's a lot of people that wake up grateful for a new day. There's a lot of people that go to bed at night grateful that they survived the day. When we practice gratitude, we shift our focus not only to what we have or not lack and have, it helps us to appreciate the present moment and the joy in the little things. Let me tell you something, I speak of that word joy a lot, and a lot of people don't even know what the word means. The joy in the little things. Because a lot of the things that we take, like materialistically, it take us to a peak, right? But when you're able to find the joy in the little things, you can ride those peaks a lot longer. By being grateful, we cultivate a positive mindset. This allows us to see the good in ourselves and others. So when you're practicing gratitude, instead of focusing on the negativity, the things you don't have, when you're focusing in on being positive, and we say this in other lessons, right? Looking for the good. It changes everything. To practice gratitude, take a moment and reflect each day on things that you're thankful for. It could be as simple as having a roof over your head, right? We talk about that. Some people, that warm cup of coffee or energy drink in the morning to get you going. But do you write it down? I say this to a lot of people. We were talking about goal setting the other day when we were teaching, and a lot of people don't write these things down. Some folks say it's on a vision board or a board they put somewhere in the room, but that holds as a reminder, not as a plan. But when you write down what you're grateful for, you're also reminding yourself, when you need it, of what things are good in your life. The more you practice it, the more it becomes easy for you to love those things that are good in your life. Focusing on the good things, and it's changing and shifting your mindset to being positive. Research shows the gratitude practice results in higher levels of self-esteem and life satisfaction. Let me say that again. When you practice gratitude, it results in higher levels of self-esteem and life satisfaction. Think about that. That means you will live a happier and more fulfilled life by taking the steps of practicing gratitude, being truly grateful for what you have, not focus on what you don't have. And a lot of people don't even think about how it all ties in, right? Because when you focus on what you don't have or what you haven't been able to achieve or what you didn't do, that leads to depression. And then the other end of it, alternate end, right? The opposite end. If you're focusing on it so much and you can't get in, you're chasing it, it can lead to anxiety. But what about when you're grateful for the present moment, what you have right now, where you are, and you're happy about being and the joy of being present in your life right now? Think about how practicing gratitude, if it's telling you right now that it can raise your levels of self-esteem and life satisfaction, and all you have to do is start with taking one step, being grateful. An important step that's missed is expressing gratitude towards yourself. Listen to me when I tell you this. We can do it all day. Write down a list of things we're grateful for that we've gotten, received, done. But how often do we express gratitude towards ourselves? Remember when I was telling you about looking at that person in the mirror? How do you say, I appreciate my own qualities, my achievements, my efforts? How do you tell yourself, I'm proud of you? It might sound funny, but there's a lot of people that move and never take a second to reflect and be proud of their accomplishments, what they've achieved, where they've gone, what they've done with their lives. The fact that they've beat the odds, they're still standing, taking that time to breathe and take it all in. You see, that's part of being gracious. That's part of gratitude, is being able to not just be present in the moment and be grateful for what you have, but also appreciating yourself. 78.6 FM Yomitan. Can't wait to pick this back up. See you in a second. 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes of Winston. We're back on self-care. I'm really excited about this entire lesson, and I got to slow myself down because I'm really excited about it. I wanted to start here. Wherever I go from this point, whatever the episodes take on themselves is going to be a building block that started with self-love. Because really, if you don't love who you are, if you don't love what you do, if you don't love what you bring to the world every single day, if you don't realize that you are a miracle, one of one, and if you haven't understood how to be uniquely you and how special that is to the world, then I want to be here to remind you, right? So I'm really excited about this, man. We're talking about gratitude. Being grateful, not just saying thank you, but truly being grateful for everything you have right now, who you are, where you've been, what you experienced, what you've survived. When you can do that, let me tell you something, man, it's a game changer. Keep in mind that promoting a positive perspective and reducing it also helps to reduce self-criticism. So when you're changing your mind, you can change your life. What I tell you at the last time is when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Focusing in on things that you're grateful for also shifts your attention away from the negative self-perceptions and self-judgment. Listen to what I'm telling you. When you're grateful for things that you've done, your life, where you are, you can kind of get away from those negative self-thoughts because it's those negative self-perceptions and self-judgments shift. And this shift will help you develop a more compassionate and accepting attitude towards yourself. And you'll cultivate that self-love in the process. Practicing gratitude is step one. That's the first step I want you to start thinking about as you move forward and talking about how do you achieve self-love. Not just be grateful about what you have, but be grateful about who you are, where you are in your life, what you've achieved, what you've accomplished, what you've survived, what you have in front of you, the opportunities, the people. Be grateful. The next thing I want to talk to you about is embracing your imperfections. Embracing imperfections is a crucial part of achieving self-love. Not only does it foster self-acceptance, it also reminds that nobody is perfect. Let me tell you something. Let me say that again. Nobody is perfect. We all have flaws. And instead of focusing on your shortcomings, we should accept them and focus on our strengths. Let me say that again in case you're that person that looks in the mirror and you're always looking at the TV shows and the commercials and these models that got the bodies they paid for or somebody else sponsored for them and you don't have it. Comparison is the thief of joy. And when you start embracing your own imperfections, man, like I said, when you start seeing yourself different, it's a mindset shift. I'm still unique. I'm still a blessing. I am one of one. I am me. We should all accept that your imperfections are part of you. Not only are we building confidence when we do this and self-esteem, but we're also letting go of unrealistic standards and expectations that may have been placed on us. Like I mentioned, looking at those crazy commercials, those movies, those shows, those reality TV shows. It's also important to be empathetic towards yourself. You know this line, I tell you this all the time, every year. I always make sure I mention this. It's also important to give yourself grace because we often judge ourselves harshly for any mistakes we made, things that happen. We always beat ourselves up. We are our own worst critic. But it's important to remember that making mistakes is a natural part of the learning process. Don't be scared to make a mistake. Don't be scared to fail forward. By being kind and understanding towards ourselves, we create a positive relationship with ourselves, and we're always remembering the line that I always give you, to give ourselves grace. This step's important because it promotes authenticity and genuine connections with others. Listen to me, when we embrace our imperfections, we become more comfortable showing ourselves to the world. This is who I am. This is me. Let this little light shine. We start attracting like-minded people and fostering deep connections. But those connections, we're not just fostering them and creating them, but they're based on mutual understanding, acceptance, and support. You'll read a book or you'll see these memes or things that says, find your tribe. And you know, a lot of people in the world right now struggle with finding people that they vibe with. That's because they're not being themselves. If you're not being authentically you, then you're going to surround yourself with or inauthentic people. And it's going to be very difficult to truly vibe with those folks because you're not being real. So you're putting yourself in an environment that really doesn't fit you. And I'm going to read this again, right? Because I wrote this, it meant a lot to me. When you embrace your imperfections, right? You promote authenticity and growing genuine connections with others. Genuine connections with others. You're going to become more comfortable with showing yourself to the world. Attracting like-minded individuals and fostering deep connections based on mutual understanding, acceptance, and support. This is who I am. I appreciate you guys for accepting me for who I am. I am me. I'm not trying to be anything other than me. It's going to keep you from being stressed out, from trying to put too much energy into being a fraud, a fake. And you can be you, surrounded by people who love you for you. By embracing your imperfection, you can build relationships that value and nurture your true self. But another thing that really matters is when you're being real, you're embracing your imperfections, you're also building that relationship that you have with yourself. Look in the mirror and say, man, I love you. I'm 44. I ain't got the same washboard abs I used to have when I was a young man. But I know I've been through it and I survived it. I remember those experiences, and I remember how being in love with those experiences, that journey, this entire story. This body that I look at right now, this face, the hairline, everything, or the lack of, everything is part of my story. And it's beautiful to me. Have you started looking at your story, your imperfections, as being beautiful yet? It's you. Doing this, of course, will contribute to a better sense of self-love. And that's called embracing your imperfections. So we talked about the very first thing, right? Practicing gratitude. Then embracing those imperfections. And I want to talk to you, and I would be very remiss not to discuss this with you today. I had a 3-part series on the previous podcast released about this. Very important to me. Has changed my life significantly. So I definitely want to share this third piece, this third step to achieving self-love. And it's called setting boundaries. Man, if you knew how many people that come into our office every single week that have not established boundaries, not just professional, but personal boundaries in their lives. So if you're not able to establish personal boundaries in your life, how do you automatically, magically expect to be able to establish them professionally? I was teaching at the conference and I had just finished the class, and one of the young ladies came out, and I'll share her story. I won't say her name. When she came out, she said, "Sir, I really love what you said about self-care, self-love, the difference between maintenance and actually taking care of our whole being." I just want to throw that out there real quick. She said, "But the one thing I struggle with is not knowing how to say no. And then accepting, I stay at work until blase blah hours, and then I get home and it's blase blah discussions and, the family disruptions." And I was like, okay, I have one question for you. I just have one. Have you established boundaries? And I just left it there. We do what we call a pregnancy pause, right? A pregnant pause. And I just shut up. Have you established boundaries in your life? And I sat back and watched just the way I'm looking at you right now on the screen. And if you're listening on, I pause just like this. And she sat back and she looked at me. She looked down. She looked back at the ceiling and she said, "No, I haven't." I said, that's where you got to start. You have to establish and set those boundaries in your life, because if you don't have boundaries, people on your personal and professional life are going to run all over you. Your work is going to run all over you. Your storyline at home is going to run all over you because you haven't established boundaries and chalked out time for yourself. This lady told me she's been married 14 years and was trying to figure out a way to plan her honeymoon because work and life keep getting in the way. But if you've gone 14 years without establishing boundaries, you married this dude out of school, and you still getting to know him, but you still haven't established boundaries. You don't even know what the word means. And now you're scrambling. And I'm presenting the word to you probably for the first time, establishing boundaries in your life. And it's such a cheat code for so many things. But when it comes to establishing, or it comes to self-love, setting boundaries is an essential step towards achieving it. It involves identifying your limits and communicating them clearly with others. Listen to me. Communicating your limitations and learning, understand this, how to say no. It's one of my favorite words, and my friends will tell you, no, I'm not. Nah, not today. Ain't gonna do it. And I make some people mad. I make them frustrated. Guess what? That's your story, not mine. I know my limitations. I know what I need to recover, to reset, to recuperate, to be ready, to give my best the next day. By setting boundaries, you're showing respect for yourself, your needs, and what is crucial for building a healthy relationship with yourself and others. Boundaries can come in many forms, y'all. Listen to me. Saying no to requests that don't align with your values, or taking time for yourself when you need it. It's so important to remember that setting boundaries is not selfish, but it's a way of prioritizing that word that a lot of people don't really understand what it means. Prioritizing your well-being. Setting boundaries for yourself. Clearly communicate them to others. I can't. Not today. Sorry, I don't do that. Sorry, that doesn't align with my values. Sorry, this is important to me, so I'd rather do this. Being able to clearly convey those things in your life. People are scared to do it because they don't want the response, the reaction. They're scared of what someone might say when they put those boundaries out there, but you might be surprised. You might change your entire life by setting those boundaries. So take the time to reflect on your needs. Communicate them assertively and confidently. If you don't really set them and you're inconsistent, people will continue to run all over them. 78.6 FM Yoma Time, positive vibes of Winsome. We'll be right back. .6 FM Yoma Time, positive vibes with Winsome. We're back. I left off. We were just talking about some different steps to achieving self-love, man. I'm going to tell you something. It's not just loving yourself, but loving who you are, loving who you become, loving your story, being in love with everything about you. It's so important to me, and I love seeing it. It gives me a warm feeling when I start seeing people connect the dots and they are in love with their story, right? A lot of people wait to get old. Now they're telling their story, and now they start, as they're telling it, they're falling in love with their story. But no, if you can do it now, imagine You are in love with who you are. You are in love with the miracle you are. Each new day, every opportunity you get, every person whose life you impact. Listen to me, that changes the whole. I pay attention to all of it. I write it down. When something just warms my heart, I write it down, man. That was awesome. I'm always reflecting. I was telling one of my teammates yesterday, I said, do you understand when people come back in these doors and tell us the good things that are happening in their lives? And that we've played a role and they're giving us hugs and telling us thank you. You understand that's part of our story. That's part of theirs too. And I say this for Maya Angelou. They may not remember everything we said. They may not remember everything we did, but they will remember how we made them feel. So knowing that people are in love with their story, who they look at when they're looking in the mirror, the person that's looking back at them, to be in love with that person because you're proud of the things you're doing, proud of things you've accomplished. Even when things happen that were out of your control or not what you wanted, you're still proud because you put in everything you had. Your name means something, not just to others, but to you. When you can start there, man, that's self-love. That's you love who you are. Watch out, world, because you're going to get it. You're getting all of me. And I'm proud of who I'm bringing, right? That is self-love. We talked about how to get there, and so far we've talked about understanding self-love, what it is. I broke that down at the beginning. We talked about practicing gratitude, embracing your imperfections. And right before the last break, I was talking about setting boundaries. The last piece of setting boundaries was to take time to reflect on your needs, your values. Listen to me, because if you don't know what you value, but you're talking about setting boundaries, you're not starting in the right place. You have to know what you value in your life. I can tell you my top values: family, time, and peace. Did you hear what I just said? I know those, and you can rearrange any order you want to in there because they're all important to me equally. My family, my time, and my peace. Those are my top 3 values. So everything I do in my life, every time I make a decision, is based around those values. So when we talk about setting boundaries, guess what? I'm setting boundaries because it has to do with my family, my time, and my peace. And that's how I start, by establishing those boundaries. And I communicate them just like I asked you to do, assertively and confidently. I know what I need in my life. And guess what? What you're asking me to do is not going to allow me to do that. So I got to sadly tell you no. Especially if I have that power to say no. There's going to be situations where you can't. I get it. I got it. But if you've established those boundaries, there's going to be people who won't even ask you because they know you've clearly communicated and effectively and confidently said, that's a no. Long time ago, and they remember that. I'm not going to ask him to do that because I know what the answer is going to be. You see what I'm saying? 78.6 FM Yoma Time, positive vibes of Winsome. I'm so excited, so proud, and so happy to share self-love with you because it starts here. And we're going to build up from here. Right? All those other things that everybody in the world is talking about right now. So many skip self-love. I was looking. I was like, where's the message at? Let me look in this book. Let me check this person. Let me check this speaker. Everybody's talking about all the buzzwords. I love it. I'm paying attention. All the buzzwords: emotional intelligence, self-awareness. What's the other one? I can keep going. They might even throw words like boundaries and things out here, right? But they don't connect the dots and tell you how it matters to you. How when you can connect those dots and love yourself, how you can start showing the world so much more love. How you can help others connect to their boundaries, values, because you understand them within you. 78.6 FM Yoma Time, man. After boundaries, we're going to talk about prioritizing self-care, which was, of course, in itself and alone, a buzz. But let me tell you how self-care ties into your self-love and how it helps make sure that you are taking care of your number one player, the person that you need to love in that mirror. Because when you love yourself enough to care for yourself, it's not just maintenance. It's not just getting your nails done. It's not just getting that once a month massage. It's about taking care of all of the components that make you you. And like I said, without a full understanding, you're just getting pieces of this, right? So let me help you connect the dots. Watch this. Self-care. What is yourself? Remember, I broke it down to you at the beginning. Your spiritual self, your physical self, your intellectual self, your relational self, and your emotional self. That's you. And that's how you care. You have to care and make sure you're maintaining all of those things, caring and loving on all of those things and all of those categories in your life. You see, before they teach in the main four: physical, spiritual, physical, and emotional. Or mental, excuse me. Spiritual, physical, mental, and spiritual, physical, mental, and social. I always get that one wrong. Those are the four that they always hit on. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Remember what I said. How are you taking care of yourself if you're not taking care of your whole person, your whole being, the things they don't teach you? Prioritizing self-care is crucial because it's a huge step in achieving self-love. It involves taking care of yourself physically, emotional, and mentally. This means getting enough sleep at night. Listen to me, sleep. If you're talking about any value, remember I listed my main three: time, peace, family. Remember I talked about those? If you had number four would be sleep. Let me tell you, I love my sleep, boy, right? Get enough sleep at night, exercising regularly. Regular exercise in your life, right? Right after here, I got two things I have to do today because I promised myself I do it every Saturday. I got the lighthouse and I got the gym, right? Trying to get in there more throughout the week, waking up early so I can have that workout before work, get my brain going, get those juices flowing early. These things are ways of saying, I love you. I'm not doing this because the commercial told me to. I'm doing this because I care about the person I'm looking at in the mirror. So you're talking about exercising. You talk about engaging in activities that bring you joy. What are those things that you used to do, but somebody said it looked goofy, so you stopped doing it? Man, get out of here. I'll be jumping on a scooter like a big kid because it brings me joy to have the air going through my face, the wind rushing through my ears, the sun beaming on me as I'm going 40 miles per hour, however fast that scooter goes, because it brings me joy. I don't let that one person say, hey, man, you're kind of big for that thing. No, let me tell you something. I'm having fun. I might watch shows that you don't like because those shows bring me joy. I have yet to find a whole lot of Doctor Who fans, but I love that show. Brings me joy. Makes me smile. Takes me to a place of warmth. You see what I'm telling you? What is that for you? 78.6 FM Yomaton. Positive vibes with Winsome. You win some, you lose some. Right? Listen to me. What a bringing joy and also relaxation. A lot of people don't understand how that ties in. But let me tell you, if you don't know how to recover, if you don't know how to reset, if you don't know how to bring the best version of you back the next day because you took care of yourself the night before, then you're losing half the battle. Because recovery is part of the process. Recovery is part of self-care. How much sleep do you need? How much food do you need to eat? What do you need to do for yourself to be the best version of you that people want to be around, that people crave your presence? What do you need to be that person? And if you're an introvert, I get it. What do you need to be to have that inner peace? Who do you need to be? And what do you need to do for yourself? That's self-care. It's not just one thing, it's all things. So sad. I was sitting there talking to 450 people that day and thousands online. And I remember telling them, I said, hey, a lot of you, when I'm asking the lady, what's self-care to you? And every one of the people I asked were mentioning the maintenance items. This one maintenance item, not taking care of their whole being. Without the understanding, how can you? So I broke it down just like I'm breaking it down to you. Self-care is taking care of yourself spiritually, physically, intellectually, emotionally, and relational-wise. You take care of all those things because all those things matter at the end of the day and along your story to who you are as a person. I cheat. I call it the SPIRE model, right? That's, of course, straight out of the Happier book. The SPIRE model. Dr. Tal Ben Shahar, thank you so much for your support, belief, and trust. Because of you, I can share these messages and start with this. Self-care also means setting boundaries and learning when saying no is necessary. Oh, you didn't know that setting boundaries was part of self-care? Yeah. Because you got to know how to say no sometimes to take care of what's good for your well-being, for your whole person. That's not good for me. That's not good for my story. That's not good for my future. That's not good for my name. So that's a no. When you can do that, you're taking care of your self-care. It's important to take breaks when you need them, not to overextend yourself. You got to know when to say time out, when to take a knee. There's people that burn themselves out at work because they don't know how to take a knee. Last but not least, practicing self-compassion is essential in achieving self-love. It involves treating yourself with the same kindness, concern, and understanding that you would offer to a good friend or somebody you truly care about. Self-compassion means acknowledging your own suffering without judgment, without criticism, and responding with warmth and care, meaning giving yourself grace and loving yourself. It's important to remember that self-compassion is not the same as self-pity or self-indulgence. Rather, it's about recognizing that we all have flaws, we all make mistakes, and it's okay to be imperfect. Very similar to what we talked about earlier. By practicing self-compassion, we can cultivate a sense of inner strength, resilience, anti-fragility, and self-worth that allows us to navigate life's challenges with a greater ease and grace. So we talked about the 5. I want to cover them real quick, man, before we get out of here. Practicing gratitude, embracing your imperfections, setting boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and practicing self-compassion. To nurture self-love, man, start by identifying your needs and desires. Allow yourself to pursue your passions, set goals, and make time for those things that bring you joy. Sustaining and growing self-love is a continuous process, everybody. It requires effort and commitment. It involves acknowledging your worth, treating yourself with kindness, treating yourself with respect and compassion. It's important to practice all of these things regularly, not just one, but all. There's going to be obstacles along the way. It's not going to be easy. People, places, and things are going to get in the way. One of the biggest obstacles is going to be that negative self-talk. You being your own worst critic. That constant self-doubt. It's important to recognize when you're engaging in negative self-talk and challenge those thoughts with positive affirmations. That's going to be something we're going to talk about soon too. Positive affirmations. Self-love is a journey. It requires effort and dedication. The 5 steps we discussed today, practicing gratitude, embracing imperfections, setting boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and practicing compassion are essential components of this journey. 78.6 FM Yomitan, positive vibes with Winsome. I can't wait to get back next week and see where we go from here. You are loved, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. and it allows me to give more information to the track. So forget the little the delay. The sound was off for a second, but as I was saying, man, coming back from this break, I was able to realize and learn that we got an extra 10 minutes of bonus time, which is beautiful, right? It's an amazing scenario where you can give more input to the tips or to the stuff that we're putting out there into the universe. So 78.6 FM Yomitan, positive vibes of Winston. What I'm really happy is I can pick up where I left off. So let's go back to self-care, and we'll talk about we talked about practicing self-compassion. I want to spend more time now, on nurturing self-love. Let's talk about it. So if we're doing all 5 of those things, right? Let's start at the top. If we're practicing gratitude, embracing our imperfections, we're setting boundaries, we're prioritizing self-care, and we're practicing self-compassion. How do we nurture that self-love that we started establishing as we create this new relationship with ourselves? Nurturing self-love is a continuous process that requires patience, practice, and dedication. It involves recognizing your worth, taking care of yourself, and treating yourself with kindness and compassion. By nurturing self-love, you can improve your well-being, boost your confidence, and enhance your relationships with others. To nurture self-love, start by identifying your needs and desires. Allow yourself to pursue your passions, set goals, and make time for activities that bring you joy. Listen to me. Imagine if you did that, right? You identifying those things. Remember, I talked about values again. I'm not going to beat them up again because that really gets me happy, right? But activities that bring you joy. What are those things? Take care of your physical health by eating well, exercising regularly, and getting enough rest. Practice these things. Practice mindfulness. I can't wait to talk more about mindfulness later because that's one of the things I love to discuss too. Mindfulness, formal and informal, different ways to be mindful. Meditation, calming your mind to reduce stress. Most importantly, be kind to yourself. Treating yourself like you would a dear friend, someone you love, someone whose feelings you care about. Why is that important? Why would we even put that in there? That should be like an obvious thing, right? It's humid in here, so forgive me if I'm sweating this purple shirt. But let me tell you something. It's not so obvious to everyone. Why would you not treat yourself with the same care and love that you give others? We're talking about self-love, right? So why would you not treat yourself with the same level of love that you do everyone else? You care about people. You care about their feelings. You care about their emotions. And if you haven't been loving on yourself, that might be why you haven't been showing that care towards others. And understand something. You hear it all the time these days. What you put out there into the universe is normally what the universe gives you back. So if you're kind, loving, and being good to people, to include yourself, those good things are happening for you in your life. Treat yourself like you would a dear friend. You are your best friend, but you can also be your own worst enemy. Sustaining and growing self-love, I touched on this a second ago, is a continuous process that requires effort and commitment. It involves acknowledging your worth and treating yourself with kindness, respect, and compassion. I'm going to keep beating that up because you have to treat yourself. That's the whole key. People, how are you going to be uncomfortable loving yourself, but you say you can love others, right? To sustain self-love, it's important to practice self-care regularly. Look, guys, we mentioned this. I told you about all the components of self-care. That includes taking care of your physical health by exercising, eating healthy, and getting enough rest. It also means taking care of your emotional and mental well-being by practicing mindfulness, seeking therapy if needed. A lot of people don't like that word. It's kind of invasive. Listen to me, man. Your mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. To make sure that you are feeding your mind the right steps, the right thoughts, and the right energy, therapy is sometimes needed. And I'm a big proponent, big fan of seeking therapy. Additionally, Surround yourself with positive people who support and uplift you. This can also help sustain and grow your self-love. I say this all the time. It's the people, places, and things that we allow in our life that determine our path, shapes us, defines us. So make sure those things, people, and places that you're allowing in your life are good for your life, your mental health, and your whole being. Overcoming those obstacles that might get in the way, those self-love obstacles that people don't think about. It's kind of like goal setting, right? A lot of times we set goals, but we don't identify what obstacles might get in the way. It's not easy. It's not an easy journey sometimes for a lot of people to try to focus on and take care of themselves and love themselves. And there may be obstacles to stand in the way. One of the biggest ones is that negative self-talk. This can take the form of harsh criticism or constant self-doubt. And it's important to recognize that when you are engaging in negative self-talk and challenge those thoughts with positive affirmations. One of our future topics, we're definitely going to talk more about positive affirmations and why it's so important to say those things that your mind needs to hear. Those things to yourself that your heart needs to feel. Those things to yourself that puts you in a positive mindset. We hear these things all the time about mindsets, right? Growth mindsets, the lion mentality, blah, blah, blah. No, how about those positives, being in a positive mindset to get through the day and to live a happy and fulfilling life? Another obstacle to self-love is comparison. I told you earlier in this lesson, comparison is the thief of joy. It's easy to look at others to feel like you don't measure up to them. Oh, I ain't got his body. I don't got that car, her body, her job, her money. Comparison is truly the thief of joy, especially if you're trying to measure up to other people's standards. But the truth is, everyone has their own unique journey. And even those people that you're measuring yourself up to, they have their own struggles. So instead of comparing yourself to others, focus on your own personal growth. 78.6 FM Positive Vibes with Winston, man. I want to wrap it up with this. Achieving self-love is a journey that requires effort and dedication. Take the 5 steps we discussed today, man. Practicing gratitude, embracing imperfections, setting boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and practicing self-compassion, because these are all essential to that journey. And by practicing these steps, you can cultivate a deep sense of love and acceptance for yourself, which will positively impact all areas of your life. Remember that this is a process and you have to be patient and kind to yourself throughout this process. It may not always be easy, but you know, and I know, it's always worth it. The rewards of self-love are immeasurable. 78.6 FM Yomitan, Positive Vibes of Winsome. Today was all about self-love. Where we go from here, it depends on where my heart takes me. But I know we're going to start with this as our foundation. You can't love anything else or anyone else if you don't truly know how to love yourself. You are unique, a beautiful creation. You are one of one. You are a miracle. When you look back in the mirror, tell yourself that. Love yourself, back yourself, trust yourself. You are loved, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. See you next week.